Hello, Insiders. It's Tim here, and today I've got a special guest who will be sharing his amazing insight on life and business. His name is Peter Sage. He's a serial entrepreneur, having personally started over 20 businesses. His book, 5 Keys to Master Your Life, became an Amazon #1 bestseller in Japan and sold over 150,000 copies. He's spoken on 5 continents and shared the stage with high-profile people like Sir Richard Branson, Bill Clinton, Steve Wozniak, and many others. He's an accomplished athlete, an expert in self-development, a philanthropist. You get the drift, guys. He's very successful. Okay, so Peter, welcome to Success Insider Show.
Tim, absolute pleasure, and I've really been looking forward to today, and I'm really glad that we can spend some time here.
Excellent. So Peter, could you give us a short story of, how you really got to where you are today?
Everybody wants the short story, and I think the important part of that is that everybody does have a story. And before I get into a little bit of mine, one thing I'd like to sort of at least invite people to the awareness of is that we've all got our own story, and it's not so much what happens to us during that story, but really the interpretations of what happens along the way. So if somebody's listening to my story, it may give them hope, it may give them inspiration, or it may completely give them the conclusion that it isn't a path that they can walk. Either way, it's not about trying to follow the exact footsteps of other people, because other people walk their own path. So it's really the concepts behind other people's stories that we can draw from to really see if we can help make our own steps on our path better choices, if that makes sense. So, I don't really want to just focus on the fact, here's the deals I did, here's the phone calls I made, here's the words I used, because all of that is irrelevant to, here's who I was becoming in the process of walking my path. And that's really the mirror that I want to hold up for people that are looking at this today. So, for me, I did sort of start out, on let's just say a path that wasn't laden with silver or gold. I was born on a low-cost housing estate, what we call a council estate here in England. And my parents loved me, but we didn't have a huge amount of money. And that was fine, because most people that don't have anything aren't aware of what they're missing out on. It's only by contrast that we tend to either minimize ourselves or look to what we think is missing because we've now been exposed to what we don't have. And that's an important point for many people that are, chasing rabbits they'll never catch. I was happy with everything until I saw somebody else had more. And now I'm no longer satisfied with what I was satisfied with 5 minutes ago. And so we trap ourselves en route very easily that way. But, I grew up, I didn't feel as I was lacking anything. I wasn't very good at school in terms of being academic or sort of classed as intelligent, shall we say, by the labels that the school system unfortunately imposes on way too many people. And part of the reason for that is that if you look at the traditional educational system, we're taught 2 things. We're taught how to pass tests and work for somebody else. And while that may validate somebody's ability to memorize, it doesn't validate your ability to demonstrate many of the other myriad of intelligences that is important. Social intelligence, you've got artistic intelligence, mathematical intelligence, spatial intelligence, emotional intelligence. All of that stuff goes to create an entire totality of a human being in its greatest form. And everybody is an expert at something. Just because somebody may not be musical or know how to dance doesn't mean to say that they can't have a great talent for cooking. So there's a different way that we uniquely as human beings express ourselves, just as in, let's take, the body as an example. We are not what we see as one unit as a body. We are a collection of upwards of 50 trillion cells living in a community, in a skin-covered petri dish that, survive as a community that we chunk up to and say, we call it a body. But just because some of our cells are great at doing one thing, like taking oxygen around the body, doesn't mean to say that other cells are good at that as well. Those other cells will be good at being able to repair or take on viruses or repair tissue. So as human beings, we need to adopt our own expression, our own gift. And if we feel that school is a way to label us as a poor cell just because we, as a cell that's meant to be doing one job can't do another, thankfully, then we can live the rest of our life with those impositions of not feeling good enough. And I was looking at that when I was at school. I'm like, why am I'm not the smartest tool in the box here, but what box am I in? Because school itself for me, I looked around. I thought, why do I want to get a job that's paying me, let's call it X amount of dollars or pounds a week, when the owner of the company that's employing me, obviously that job is worth more to them. Otherwise, they wouldn't be giving me everything as the price. If I'm earning $100 a week or $1,000 a week, doesn't matter. It's worth more to the company. Otherwise, there'd be nothing in it for them. So by the definition of getting a job, which is the traditional school route, I'd be earning less than what I'm worth. Not really something I want to spend the rest of my life doing. What else am I looking at in school? Well, or going out in the real world? Well, I noticed that a lot of the A students ended up working for the C students, but not all C students made the grade. And so, for me, it was about opportunity. And I used to get excited when I used to see things like a Ferrari or, a Lamborghini driving down the street. Some of my friends would get jealous and start, talking about, how the guy that owns that must be rich and blah, blah, blah. And it's no good for me because he's just lucky. And I used to think, well, hang on a minute. I wouldn't start up a luxury car company on the basis of hoping somebody's lucky enough to buy it. If I saw a Ferrari, it would excite me because I knew that they wouldn't build those cars and make them available if people didn't have the ability to go and generate the wealth to buy one. And if they can do it, I'm sure I can do it. Because I don't see me passing a maths test qualifying me to go out and generate enough wealth to buy a Ferrari. I didn't see that. Why? Because the smartest maths person I knew, which happened to be my professor, wasn't driving a Ferrari. So, for school was it was interesting. It was a great sort of social experiment for me. And it was a good backdrop. And as a kid growing up, I was fine. But I was out of there like a rat up a drain pipe at 16 years old. I didn't want to stay around. And I just wanted to go out in the big wide world, swing the bat and see what happens. And I did. I started small. I didn't really invest any money because I didn't have any. I put my last £15 into buying toys and my last £5 to standing on a car boot sale trying to sell them. And really went on from there. And some weeks I didn't earn enough money to eat, and some weeks I did well and would reinvest into the business, and it was just a real understanding that I was enjoying the ride. I wasn't linking my self-worth and my net worth together, and therefore nobody could manipulate me by trying to tell me I wasn't good enough if I didn't have fill in the blank. And that was a huge release for me because I was willing to take risks at that point that some of the people I was at school with weren't willing to take. They'd rather have no risk and have a job and be paid less than what they're worth so that they could be unhappy under the illusion that certainty is what they were looking for. It was an interesting start for me, but since then, it's been a wild ride as everybody's got their own roller coaster. 20 plus companies, as you said. Some have even worked. Some have failed majestically. Some have wiped me out. Some should have stayed ideas when I was drunk. Some have been great ideas, and I've learned a lot from them. And I've probably learned way more from the failures than I have those successes. But that's the way it is. Success can be a lousy teacher. It gets you complacent. So I welcome and embrace it all, and that's my journey, and it's a journey that is available to everybody because I'm certainly no special, clever, or gifted than anybody else listening.
Wow, there's a lot we could dig into there. But, throughout your failures, you say you've learned the most. What would you say you've really learned in regards to the most important trait you need in order to become a successful entrepreneur?
By far, I would say, and that there's not even a close second, it's your ability to choose the meaning in what happens. If all of a sudden, let's call it a slightly close second here. The ability to let go of what you can't control. And that paralyzed me in my early days because I was a control freak. So I was trying to make everything fit my pictures. And that's a fast track to a heart attack, and unhappiness. So, can you control the weather? Of course not. Can you control the wind? Of course not. Can you control other people? Well, some people think they can and then wonder why they get stressed. Can you control the economy? No, you can't control anything outside of your own physical level of interaction with life. So, let go of what you can't control. Don't get upset about it. So that's one thing. But if you can really come to terms with that, I choose the meaning in what happens. And if the outer world doesn't fit the pictures of what I think the inner world is voting on the fact it should look like, who made the vote? If I'm complaining of the fact that the government is this or the government's that, well, who made up the pictures as to what the government should look like? Well, I did. In whose head? Mine. Well, then who's complaining? Me. Right? And it starts to get you to understand, oh no, he said something that made me mad. Well, no, he didn't. I'm sorry to correct your level of thinking here, but what you're saying is somebody over there did something that you voted on as being upsetting. Well, who made that vote? Against whose rules? Against what pictures? In whose head? And once you start to understand that I'm creating my experience moment by moment based upon my reactions and my interpretations of what I'm experiencing, then I can start to take charge. And that applies not obviously just to business, but to life. When you start to become free and owning yourself and knowing that, guess what? Life isn't straight lines. The purpose of life is not to be happy. The purpose of life is to be authentic, is to swing the bat, squeeze every... You don't want to go to a cinema and pay good money to see a boring film. But most people are trying to insulate themselves into a boring life. No, you want a film that has drama and comedy and sadness and love and excitement and romance and every aspect. You want to walk out of the cinema thinking, wow, that was an emotional roller coaster that just took me on a ride that was amazing. That's the life you want to live. And not trying to hide from whoever knocks on the door that's carrying a letter you don't want to open. Now that's a whole different game. So, being able to step up to the plate of life and say, I'm here for a reason. Let's swing the bat. Let's get in the game. Win, lose, draw. I've got news for you. At the end of this game, as we all finish at some point, the score isn't really going to matter that much. It's about how you played the game. And I see this for so many people that are attracting wealth as well and trying to play the chase the more game, as I call it. I need more. I need more. I've only got a Ferrari. I need 2 Ferraris. Now I need a fleet. Now I need a private jet. Now I need a yacht. Now more. Always chasing happiness. And wondering why at the top of Success Mountain there's always another peak. So if you can see people that are playing the game of chasing the more, they make the illusion, in my experience of working with a lot of these, of getting to the end of the game thinking that they've won the I've got the most money game, only to realize sometimes way too late, within minutes of the last breath, that nobody else was actually keeping score. And they spent all that time on doing something to validate themselves that ultimately was transient, rather than go to the end with memories of the people you could have helped, or the people that you spent time with, or the magic moments you were able to create. You don't need money for that. Money is a byproduct of the value you can add in a commercial society. That's true. But if you're validating your own journey by, I want to get to the end by, accumulating or hoarding as much as you can, then you're nothing but a hoarder. And that's not the life I want to live. I want to lose everything again 5 more times and go get it all again 5 more times. I want to see if I can get to the top of the mountain and be scared to go down the other side let's go find another peak to climb. No one's going to starve to death in the society we live in. That doesn't happen anymore. If you try it, they'll force feed you. So we have such a luxury in today's world of health, in terms of 100 years ago, you get pricked by a thorn in the garden and you could have died of septicemia very easily. We're so insulated against all of that these days. We're so insulated against not being able to afford food, first generation. My parents had rations in the war. So, with all of this, why would you not go out and swing the bat in a way that allowed you to express yourself, your gift, your passions, or just play small and crawl into a little hole and not want to step up? That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, totally agree. What would you say, though, to people who would question which way to swing that bat and, question their passion, their love for life? There are people who are feeling lost. How can they really figure that out?
We are all born with an inbuilt guidance system. If you take one of those 50 trillion cells and put it in a petri dish in the lab, and you put food at one end and toxins at another end, and come back in 20 minutes, the cells will have migrated towards the food and away from the toxins. Yeah, at a cellular level, we know what's good for us and what isn't. Yeah, so if you're being confused because you're getting mixed signals from external environments that don't have your best interests at heart, i.e. the media, i.e. the good opinion of other people that we pander to, i.e. unqualified advice that is coming from its own projections and insecurities, i.e. Our fears of trying to live up to the expectations of what our parents think we should or shouldn't do, ad infinitum. So if we can get rid of that junk or just put it on hold or pause for a minute, we've got an inbuilt guidance system. We call it the feeling center. Now, I don't want to confuse this with emotions. Emotions are different. Emotions are the after product of thoughts. You think happy thoughts, your brain will produce happy chemicals that'll flood your body and give you a happy feeling we call an emotion. Yeah, whether that's serotonin, whether that's dopamine, whether that's oxytocin, doesn't matter. Right? That's the emotions based upon the after effect of thoughts. You think thoughts that are stressful, that are scary, that induce fear. And it's all a choice. Everything you do with your head is voluntary. You can think using the will as to which way you want to go. Two men sat behind prison bars. One saw mud, the other saw stars. The condition's identical. How you choose to interact, back to what I said, is everything. So you choose fearful thoughts, and you're going to get things like adrenaline. You're going to get things like cortisol. Your adrenals are going to be squeezed. So you will then feel different emotions as a result of that. When I talk about feeling center, I'm talking about like an inbuilt Geiger counter, a vibrational calibration that comes from our guts, our heart, our soul, whatever language you want to put on it to make you feel better. I'm not interested in the labels. I'm interested in the actuality of knowing when something is right. Not because it makes sense on a SWOT analysis or a spreadsheet. Not because the left brain has managed to balance the equation, which is all its job in life is to do, or make sense of it. There's a lot of people walk down the aisle because the person they were with made sense on paper, only to realize a short while afterwards that the love of their life doesn't calibrate in a linear world. When you know, you don't know how you know, because the brain's trying to overlay its logistical left sided logical infrastructure over what is a non-linear mechanism. How do you do a test for how much you love somebody? Give me a break. How do you qualify for the imagination university? You can't score points on that. And so how do you know if you want to do business with someone when the outer signals say it doesn't make sense, but there's something about it that you trust that's beyond the wisdom or lack of the mind? So how do you swing the bat? What direction? Stop listening to outer sources or inner voices that are running patterns of scarcity, fear of loss, not good enough, and start listening to possibility. You were born a miracle. You have an incredible potential. I mean, we're not weak, we're not dumb, we're not stupid. We've managed to escape the planet. People can lift, housewives can lift cars off of babies. We're not fragile. We can do all sorts of incredible feats as human beings, but our potential is limited by our thinking. Now, that's okay when we're surrounded by possibility thinking, but when we're surrounded by conditioned responses like listening to teachers tell us if we're good enough or not based on how much we can remember and recite back as a parrot in a test, or if we read the newspapers and watch the media because that's what our parents did and that's what our friends do, so therefore that's what must happen, then I've got news for you. All of that potential is not going to be cultivated. You're going to be sold into a different agenda that doesn't have your best interests at heart. So how do you swing the bat? Simple. Start taking charge of your own greatness. Start being responsible for the fact you were born with no limits, and start listening to your heart. And from there, many different things can happen.
Yeah, I recall you in a different interview, you talk about how you should let the river unwind, and even if it takes you down the gravel path, it will eventually get to the destination. Right. What would you say, though, for people who are going through, those negative times? I mean, should they just carry on going on what they feel is right and eventually hope that the destination's there? or do you think they need some sort of pivot and bring logic to it?
Obviously, there's no one answer for everybody, but I can give some guidance here. Yeah, and depending on how deep you want to go, and obviously, I know you quite well, Tim, and I know you love to go deep, and I want to be able to be respectful and serve the audience as much as I can without sort of jumping too many levels here, because there's grades of awareness. And if you skip too many, people tend to then not have the foundation to adopt the beliefs that would then serve them probably at a higher level than if they'd have been walked through a certain process. So if I can try and pick the best dart in the board for this, all stress comes from life not fitting our pictures. I talk about the river of life winds, obviously, because the primary pattern of life is the wave. We know that in quantum physics. Unfortunately, most biologists, most scientists are using a pre-1927 model of physics to try and explain the world based on Isaac Newton and the gang. And unfortunately, we just know that isn't true now. There is much deeper levels of understanding. That's like the world looking up and saying, well, clearly the sun travels around the Earth, because we can look up at the sky and watch it travel around the Earth. It's just different levels of perception based upon different levels of advancement, and we've advanced more, even in the last 5 to 10 years, than most scientists are even vaguely aware of, because they're too busy defending a model that they've got a vested interest in defending because their identity is tied to it. So, if you go back to the river of life winds. Life is a non-linear process. We know that the most efficient and fastest way from A to B is not a straight line. Do I have to demonstrate it? Open your back door and try and go to your office in a straight line. It's not going to happen. Unless you've got a sledgehammer to knock through your neighbor's wall, unless you've got a scuba gear to cross the river. It's just, no. We know that the fastest, most efficient way of getting to the office or the supermarket or the gym is to get in the car, go to the end of the street, turn left, go to the bottom, turn right, head onto the freeway, head south to bend around to the north. And you're there a lot faster than trying to do it in a straight line. So, from that perspective, the river of your life is going to wind. Now, if you have a picture that says, oh no, it has to go in a straight line, then as soon as a bend in the river happens, you're going to fight that. You're going to resist that. You're going to start trying to dig a channel through the bank in the direction of the straight line, which, can be done, but takes enormous amounts of energy. Why would you? If you trust the fact that there's something smarter than us called the current, and providing you're sailing with conscious intention, then you can trust the river every single time. If you are sitting on a boat thinking, oh, well, the current's just going to take me where I want, that's Disneyland thinking. That's like throwing a bottle in the river and hoping it just ends up, without hitting rocks or getting trapped in an eddy or, drifting to the bank. No, you've got to consciously sail. But here's the challenge. Most people try to control the current rather than control themselves in relation to the current. So if you can become a good sailor, yes, the river's going to bend, but if you know how to sail around that bend, it's probably going to catapult you back in the direction you were going even faster, or avoid a waterfall, or do something that is moving forward, providing you know where you're going. Intention is the magical aspect of the missing link in human theology, religion, spirituality, and science. Nowhere has it really been focused on that much, but we know the observer effect, greatest discovery of the 20th century in quantum physics. If we stare at or go for an experiment whereby the matter is materialized, where does it materialize? It materializes based upon the intention of the observer. There is an interaction. We are creating our reality as we go. So, where do I go? Do I just suck it up because I'm on the gravel? Well, you're on the gravel because you've not been steering your ship properly. Right? If you want to then continue, but focus, but don't resist the current, if it bends, it bends. Now, you've got to be practical. And if there's a red light in front of you and you're driving down the road, you've got to press the brake. But, if there's a diversion, you don't want to drive through the diversion. There's probably a reason there's a diversion there, because there's a hole in the road. So, do the best you can. Be smart, be intelligent, but, listen to that inner Geiger counter, that compass, because a compass these days is far more powerful than a map. The maps are changing daily. The territory is always under construction and reconstruction, but a compass always points to your true north. So learning how to listen to that rather than following somebody else's guidance on a map that may be out of date the moment you read it is a far more practical and better way of trying to guide and navigate, the journey of your life.
Okay. Since we've only got about 6 minutes left, Peter, I think it's important for you to explain the rabbit analogy, because for me, that was honestly the most mind-shifting thing I got from you when I first discovered you on London Real. And I think my audience, people tuning in, would definitely resonate highly to it, because I spent the majority of my life chasing rabbits due to, I suppose, Asian parenting conditioning, as well as the media, as you mentioned. So, Peter, I suppose with the time we got left, could you explain about the rabbit analogy and the 4 mindset, the 4 thinking model, 4 levels?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And if we run over, we run over. I'm good. Let's, if people are listening and want to continue listening, let's at least honor them with some content if we can. Okay. So, yes, well, essentially, the rabbit model and the 4 levels model are 2 different models. But yeah, if I talk about the white rabbit for a second, what I call the curse of the white rabbit, and it's essentially modeled after a greyhound track, whereby you see a lot of dogs that go to the races, and greyhounds start, the trap opens and the dog runs chasing a mechanical rabbit. Now, no matter how hard or how fast the dog runs, no matter what diet the dog has, no matter what trainer it has, no matter what kennel it sleeps in, it's never going to catch that rabbit. And the reason for that is not because it's not a good enough dog, but the fact that the game is designed specifically, it's rigged so that you can't catch the rabbit, because there's a different agenda going on. Now, when it comes to businesses, entrepreneurship, life in general, so many of us are chasing a rabbit called our first million or our next million, or the dream job or the dream soulmate or whatever it may be. Anything that we are currently chasing because we think that we are not good enough because we don't have it right now, or life will be better when I fill in the whatever the rabbit. Then what you'll see is a universal pattern, and that is that even if we do manage to catch some of these rabbits, people set goals, people achieve goals. But what happens once they achieve goals? Do they get the happiness that they thought was associated to the goal that they achieved? Well, maybe for 20 minutes. But very soon after, there's an emptiness. There's a yearning again. It's like, I've got to catch another rabbit. I remember the first time I bought my first supercar, and I'm like, wow, it was great. But after like 2 weeks of driving, I'm like, is this all there is? Maybe, I know I need a better Ferrari. So I went and bought a Ferrari. That was my next goal. After I got that, I thought, it's got to be a McLaren. I've gone through all of those. And understanding that, who I am versus what I have, what I own, or perceive I own, what I achieve, is completely separate. So if I'm looking for fulfillment, that is an internally referenced phenomena. In other words, I can be happy, as some of the kids I work in Africa are, because it rained, or I can be upset because it rained because I wanted a barbecue. And again, 2 men sat behind prison bars, same deal. So if you start to understand that, if I'm chasing something called my first million or my next million, because once you've got your first million, you're not happy because now you think you need a second million in case you lose the first. And that carries on until you hit the billions and never stops. So if you are chasing or trying to chase what you perceive to be the rabbit of fulfillment by running on the track of achievement, you're going to be worn out of breath, upset, and never get to where it is that you think you're going to go. And it's not because you're not a good enough entrepreneur. It's not because you weren't born to build businesses. Entrepreneurs build businesses. That's what they do. Greyhounds run after rabbits. That's what they do. But you'll never see a greyhound at the end of the race upset. No, they're ecstatic. They got to run. They enjoyed the race. Entrepreneurs should enjoy building the company. If they catch the rabbit, if they make the million, if they don't make the million, it's almost irrelevant. You're doing what you were born to do. Now, the paradox is the amount of energy we waste and suppress trying to catch a rabbit to validate ourselves. If that was then released and focused into just running for the sake of running because we enjoy it, because that's what we're built for building a business, that's what we're built for, the business will probably be more successful. But most of personal development today, Tim, is focused purely on teaching people how to run fast around the track, trying to get a rabbit that isn't going to make them happy in the first place. So how do you break that? Simple. It's an experiential awareness. You can't just intellectualize it, and some people just aren't ready for it. And some people have got to keep chasing rabbits till they have a heart attack before they realize that ultimately you already are that which you seek. And when you really get that, I don't mean intellectually understand it. I don't even mean just feel it briefly. I'm on about own it. Once you own, you already are that which you seek. The freedom that comes with that, the energy that's released with that, you can put back into your running if you want to go run, or find the woman of your dreams, or start whatever business or whatever it may be. But you're not doing it because when I get there, then I'll be happy, then I'll be good enough, then I'll be respected, then I'll have significance, then I'll have enough certainty, yada yada yada. So how?
Yeah, definitely. It's powerful every time I hear it. Okay, Peter, just want to say thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom. And guys, I just want to say, if you're not subscribed to Peter Sage's, I know some of you are. I just want to invite you to join his YouTube channel by typing in Peter Sage on YouTube. And Peter, is there anywhere else you would like them to check out?
Well, I've got a lot to say content on YouTube, and some of that's thanks to you, Tim. You've been an inspiration to me as well in that department. I adore your skill set, and your ability to always want to contribute and give back is a real model for many people. So thank you for doing what you're doing on that front. Obviously, website, petersage.com. There's a ton of free stuff on there as well that I can try and help people with. Unfortunately, most of my life's either on an aeroplane or charging around the world doing something, so it's not too often I get to be able to sit down and have these kinds of conversations. But if the audience like what they hear, and there's lots more to come, then maybe you and I can get back on another call at some point and offer some more value and give them another journey.
Definitely. Thank you so much for coming on, Peter, and thank you guys for tuning in. Until next time, see you soon.